Merry Christmas, everyone. I thought because it is a festive season, this is a season of giving. Myself and Luke thought it'd be a good idea to give you a sort of snippet from a coaching call we had sort of a month ago now with Hysam, a seven-figure sales rep doing over $100,000 a month and has generated over 5 million in sales. I thought I'd drop a little snippet. Obviously, this is in multiplyclients.io. If you want to get on board, there's a link down below to check it out. Hope you enjoy the sort of little snippet out of the hour call that we had with him. But yeah, enjoy the holiday season and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Guys, to really fix problems in your current situation. Like I said, everybody here is in different situations. Everybody's at different revenue stamps. Everyone has different knowledge. Everyone's at a different stage. Everyone wants to learn different things. So yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to kind of dive into kind of what you want to learn. So Luca, if you want to maybe kick it off for everyone, and then yeah, go from there.
Yeah, so basically I wanted to get back to the question that you, Harvey, asked, because I noticed like in my sales presentation, like there's too much rationality, right? I jump on the sales presentation and I show them exactly like the roadmap that they need to follow and why everything works. You know, they need to get this dialed in, so then they can get the outcome, right? And most times they understand that, but they're not like in that emotional phase where they're just thirsty for my solution, right? And so, you know, in the logistical side, they might not have any objections, but then in kind of like the emotional side, they're just, you know, hesitant and they just don't want to buy. So how can I get them like very, very thirsty of my solution? Like they actually feel like they are going to die if they don't actually join the program, right? And I know that Hysam, you talked about cost of inaction, but again, like that's something that they really need to get vulnerable about it, right? And so, you know, most people they have too much pride to even, you know, acknowledge that they need to actually you know, invest in themselves, invest in the solution that's presented. So how can I get them like very, very thirsty but smoothly, like without you know, just trigger the vulnerability? And yeah.
No, it's a good, I appreciate you asking those. So it's a two-part question, basically. The first part was like, how do I get them thirsty for the knowledge? And the second part is like the vulnerability piece. So around the first part, so here's the thing. So two questions so I can best answer the question. How long are your calls typically?
Around like 30 to 40 minutes.
30 to 40 minutes. Okay. How long is your pitch?
I would say 15. Yeah, something like that.
Yep. So it's way too long, because right now, if you look at it, your pitch is literally half your call. So we're saying that, hey, we want them to be in an emotional state, but we're feeding them rationalism through our pitch and our benefits and features, right? So there's a bit of a misalignment there. Truly, like the thirst for knowledge comes from emotion, and we're able to validate, like you heard this all the time probably, is like we make a decision, it's emotionally validate it through logic, right? So the need to change comes from emotion, comes from, hey, if I don't do this, so-and-so is going to happen, so-and-so is going to happen, nothing's going to change, I'm going to end up in a worse position, right? The pitch is just simply just like regurgitating the logical side, so that way there's rationalism behind it, right? There's a rational thing, so that way we mitigate buyer's remorse, we mitigate, you know, we show them, hey, this is how we're going to solve your problem. Now that you're feeling this emotion, this is how we solve it. So if you're not getting that thirst for knowledge, or that thirst for like, hey, like let's get started, it's usually you're not going deep enough. And I love that you talked on the vulnerability piece. Now, I'm gonna ask you this question. You mentioned people have being pride and not having ego, or having ego. When's the last time that you were vulnerable in your personal life with someone that you don't know?
Well, long time ago.
Long time ago, right? So we have to look at it like, okay, if we're not being vulnerable with people, how do we expect a stranger on the call to be vulnerable with us, right? So vulnerability is like a handshake, right? Like for somebody to be vulnerable, you have to extend your hand, right? You know, so like if I want to shake your hand, I have to extend my hand first, right? So the thing is that a lot of the times we get uncomfortable asking questions because we've never asked ourselves these questions, right? So you have to get comfortable with being vulnerable within yourself first and foremost, and with other people, right? So if you never ask yourself in your own business, hey, what happens if I don't make a change, if I don't put myself in comfortable positions, if I don't actually put myself to where I could be rejected, I could fail, but hopefully succeed, how are you going to ask somebody on a call that you just met 20 minutes ago? The reason why I was good at that is because I'm somebody who I always ask myself hard questions. Always. I'm very much like a thinker. Like I love to just kind of like ask myself difficult questions. Yeah, even when I meet people like you, like I love to ask like meaningful questions and like, you know, kind of I'm a very curious person by nature. So it comes from a place of like I'm trying to get to know you, but I'm trying to like, you know, go deeper with you. So look into your own life, because at the end of the day, sales is a mirror, right? The issues, the objections that we get, the issues that we have on a sales call is usually within us internally, right? So I don't know you, Luca, but you know, if you're struggling to be vulnerable or pull out vulnerability in your calls, then maybe look in the mirror and be like, you know, am I scared to be vulnerable? Or am I afraid? Do I not want to put myself out there? Do I not want to be vulnerable? Right? Because it's usually a mirror in that regard. So, and the last thing that I'll say is, if you're struggling to get vulnerability on a call, let's say that you've done those practices, you've introspected and whatnot, share a personal story. This is very helpful. If somebody's scared or they're not willing to get, just be like, hey, like mention a personal story, because people love to hear stories. People love to hear stories. Mention a story in your life where you felt, you know, that you were anxious or you were unsure or you were uncertain. Bring that up to them and they'll be more vulnerable with you. Because as I mentioned, it's a handshake, right? So you being vulnerable with them on a call, they're going to be more vulnerable with you. So I hope that helps.
Yep, 100%.
Perfect, man. Well, yeah, that was a very in-depth answer. Obviously, Luca, hopefully that helped. Anyone else got any questions that they sort of want to ask Hysam while we're still here?
Yeah, let me get one in.
For sure.
So I had a question. I'm sure a lot of us here have like a low ticket prospect. I wanted to ask a question on the topic of like upselling current prospects, because I'm sure a lot of us here have people in our pipeline or that we're already working with that we know we can do more for. So
Yeah.
kind of on the topic of like, how can we get them on board for either a higher ticket service with us or just more work for them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's two ways of a back-end system, right? You have referrals and you have upsells, right? So these are two things that you need to iron out. If you've read $100 million offers, not $100 million leads, Alex Ramosi, he talks about, yeah, there you go. He talks about having a strong affiliate and referral system, because that's truly the like, if you want to know the health of a company, like for example, I invest in companies and e-commerce companies as well. The main thing that I look at if I'm going to invest in a company is what their referral system is. Like, for example, if the ads turned off tomorrow, how long can this company survive for? Because referrals don't cost money, right? Upsells don't cost money. They don't cost marketing money, rather. So it's very important to iron that out. Now, to answer your question, you have to be able to identify gaps when upselling somebody, right? So if they're getting XYZ value and they're not getting a result, you have to make sure that the gap between what they're getting right now and the gap between what they're looking for far outweighs the pain that they're in, right? Because at the end of the day, most people are looking for the similar things. They're looking for support, they're looking for accountability, they're looking for guidance, etc. Right? So we have to show that, hey, with this extra amount, here's what we're able to do. Now, these are going to be a warmer audience because they've already purchased from you, right? So the number one thing is that you want to have an inflection point, and the inflection point is like basically like after a win or after some success. That's the best time to upsell to somebody. A lot of people think that excuse me, a lot of people think that the best time to upsell someone is like when they're not happy, and that's like a big mistake. The best time to upsell someone is after they have a win, right? They you know, they've seen success, they've had, you know, calls booked in, whatever it may be, sales come in, etc., because they're in an inflection zone. So what I would do, is it Xavier?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would do is I would figure out within your program, when do usually people have the most success? Like, when do they start seeing wins? Is it a week in? Is it 2 weeks in? Is it a month in? And when you close that prospect, put in your calendar, say, hey, and use this line for line if you want to. once they booked in, or once they purchase your ticket, whether you're selling or whoever's selling, or it's, hey, congratulations, looking forward to working with you, whatever. What I'd love to do, and I do this with all my clients, is I'd love to schedule an accountability call after 2 weeks or whenever that inflection point is, just so I can kind of hear your feedback and see what you're kind of, where you're at, and just to see how I can best help you, right? No one is going to say no to that. They're going to be like, oh, this dude actually cares. Now you jump on that call and you kind of go through everything, where they're at, et cetera. Oh, I just had this win, et cetera, and then you go into the upsell from there. Well, it's like, well, if you've had success with that package, we actually offer more help, more guidance, where our clients have more support, and they're able to achieve these results, show them testimonials, case studies, et cetera. I think you'd be a great fit for that. Would you like to have a conversation about that? Then you go into that sort of thing.
Perfect.
So go back in your data, figure out when that inflection point is, whether it's 7 days, it's 2 weeks,